In the day's other news, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi says Democrats will introduce and vote on a war powers resolution on Iran this week. It requires congressional approval for any further U.S. military action. The resolution is likely to pass the Democratic-controlled House, but a similar resolution could stall in the Republican-run Senate. The battle over a Senate impeachment trial of President Trump has taken a new turn. The president's former national security advisor, John Bolton, said today that he would testify if he is subpoenaed. Minority Leader Chuck Schumer said the Bolton statement bolsters Democrats' demands for current and former White House officials to testify.
Given that Mr. Bolton's lawyers have stated he has new and relevant information to share, if any Senate Republican opposes issuing subpoenas to the 4 witnesses and documents we've requested, they would make it absolutely clear they're participating in a cover-up.
House Speaker Pelosi has withheld the articles of impeachment in an effort to pressure the Senate to call witnesses, but Republican Majority Leader Mitch McConnell renewed his criticism of that tactic today.
Even with a process this constitutionally serious, even with tensions rising in the Middle East, House Democrats are treating impeachment like a political toy, treating their own effort to remove our commander-in-chief like some frivolous game.
We'll return to the impeachment fight a little later in the program. The U.S. has sent an unspecified number of additional troops to Kenya after al-Shabaab fighters killed a U.S. soldier and 2 American civilians on Sunday. The group, linked to al-Qaeda, stormed the Manda Bay airfield near the Kenya-Somalia border. Dark smoke rose during an hours-long siege. The Pentagon said it does not believe the attack was tied to tensions with Iran. In Afghanistan, U.S. Ambassador John Bass stepped down today after serving 2 years in Kabul. It came amid peace talks with the Taliban and U.S. tensions with neighboring Iran. The State Department said the move was part of a normal rotation, but there was no word of a permanent replacement. Wildfire conditions have eased a bit in Australia after intense weekend heat, but scores of fires continue burning. All told, they have killed 25 people and hundreds of millions of animals. Dan Rivers of Independent Television News reports from New South Wales in Australia.
Not even a week into 2020, and already this is a year no Australian will forget.
This is what they're dealing with all across southeastern Australia. They're using every asset they've got, planes, helicopters, fire engines. The fire's ripped through here. This property at the back is gone. We've just talked to the owner. He's distraught. He doesn't know what's saved and what hasn't. His entire life possessions are inside.
The wind suddenly veers to the south. The fire switches direction, and our only way out is now a treacherous gauntlet of fallen trees and flames. They call Australia the lucky country. Right now, it feels cursed. Rain has now brought some relief, but the fires might be whipped up again on Thursday. Kathy Bleacher has come back for the first time to what's left of her house.
It's hard because it's hard, you know. I mean, it is just a house at the end of the day, but when you see it like this, you know, it's where you lived.
It's your home.
Yeah, it's a home. You make it a home.
It's not just the human toll which is still being assessed here. There's also been a catastrophic ecological price for these fires, which have ravaged 60,000 kilometres.
At the village vet in Milton, they're trying to cope with dozens of burnt animals, like this brush-tailed possum.
It's got significant burns on all its feet, its face, its ears are crinkled. It's probably got smoke inhalation. It's in a bad way.
Sadly, this young possum didn't make it. Another victim that has succumbed to Australia's bushfire crisis.
That report from Dan Rivers of Independent Television News. The Trump administration will now include asylum seekers from Mexico among those being deported to Guatemala. Reports today said that they will wait there for their claims to be processed, and the deportees will now include families. It is part of an agreement signed last year with Guatemala and implemented in late November. Former movie producer Harvey Weinstein made ready today to face trial on charges of rape and sexual assault. He arrived at court in New York using a walker after recent back surgery. for a hearing on pretrial motions. Outside, some of Weinstein's 75 accusers and later a defense lawyer spoke on the eve of jury selection.
The eyes of the world are on this trial, and women's hopes and dreams of every time they've been assaulted and hurt and never had their voices heard or never had their day in court, because 98% of rape trials do not end with a conviction for the predator.
The government doesn't want our side to have a voice. I think they believe that their side of this story is the only one that matters and the only one that counts. And that's what this trial's for. This trial is to show the jury, the state of New York, and the world that there's more to this than they would like everyone to believe.
Separately, meanwhile, Weinstein was indicted in Los Angeles today, also on charges of rape and sexual assault. Borden Dairy Company filed for federal bankruptcy protection today. It is the second major U.S. dairy to take that step in the last 2 months. Borden cited rising costs and changing consumption habits. The company was founded in 1857 and employs 3,300 people nationwide. And on Wall Street, stocks shook off jitters over Iran to make a modest comeback. The Dow Jones Industrial Average gained 68 points to close at 28,703. The Nasdaq rose 50 points, and the S&P 500 added 11. Still to come on the NewsHour, Senate Leader McConnell, Speaker Pelosi, and the battle over the impeachment trial of President Trump. Our Politics Monday team breaks down the primary race with less than 1 month before voting begins, and much more.
This is the PBS NewsHour from WETA Studios in Washington and in the West from the Walter Cronkite School of Journalism at Arizona State University.